Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's show, guys. This is going to change the 2024 election. This breaking news that just came out. So in the 2020 election, it was completely messed up. They've finally finished the audits for major swing states over what happened, and you're not going to believe it. It completely is wrong, but now we have Texas Attorney General who's doing something about it. We have another state that has come out in support of providing major assistance, housing assistance, to illegals for free housing. $30,000 for illegals to buy a house. And it just passed in the Senate in California for them to give 0% down, 0% down payment houses to illegals. Not citizens. You're not eligible. Only illegals. Trump officially makes a statement on RFK Jr. and what will happen with him joining the Dream Team. So tons of breaking news for y'all today, guys. Tell me where you're from. We love bringing the community together. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button, guys. It really helps to grow the channel. And thank you so much for those that are subscribed. And if you're not, go ahead, guys. Smash that that subscribe button. It's free, and I want to serve you every day with the top news. And thank you to everybody that has given a super chat donation to this channel. You are such a blessing to me and my family, guys. We appreciate you very, very much. But guys, we got to get on into this, guys, because this is going to change the election. Check it out.
There were also over 23,000 who voted by mail after moving, after the cutoff. So they no longer lived in the state or in the county. There were 23,000 voters who had cast double votes. There were 9,000 more mail-in ballots were received and recorded than the official number of mail-in ballots. There's a large discrepancy, more than 255,000 in discrepancy, and you talked about the 50,000 that was leaked in the report last night, saying that there could potentially be these fraudulent ballots. We also know that the machines were connected to the internet, contrary to what the county was saying before the audit, saying that they weren't connected to the internet. They weren't connected to the internet. We've learned conclusively that they were, and not only were they connected to the internet, but there was also remote access available to the EMS system, the election.
Guys, so if you didn't catch it, there's 255,000 early votes. This was in Arizona, and this is happening across all states. 255,000 early votes with no record. 23,000 people voted by mail after they moved out of the state or country. 23,000 double votes. 9,000 more mail-in ballots received and recorded than the official number of mail-in ballots. Guys, you want to know why this is important? Right here. This was 2020 Joe Biden versus Trump. Trump only lost, look at this, he only lost by 11,000, little less than 11,000. So whenever you see things like this, 23,000 voted by mail after they moved out of the state or country, 23,000 double votes, 9,000 more mail-in ballots received and recorded, 255,000 early votes with no record. That's where this is going to change the 2024 election, is because they're going to catch all of this. Check this out.
Management system that was used. So there's a lot of discrepancies. There's a lot of explaining to do. And I want to point out the fact that the audit did not say that Joe Biden won. That is a leftist spin that's putting on it. The part that confirmed the hand recount is the same thing as counting potentially fraudulent ballots. It's the same thing we saw in Georgia right after the election. We saw a lot of people concerned saying, why are they doing a recount of the same fraudulent ballots to get the same fraudulent results? Well, it was part of the investigation, and they did that. So that's the explanation of where that count comes from. And they say the counts do match; they are close. However, there is a lot of indications of fraud, and so that's the discrepancy. That's the spin on the misinformation. So we need.
So guys, this is where
there was a lot of information that came out today.
So all this has just come out, guys. On top of that, all this, guys, 200. Trump only lost Arizona by 11,000 votes, a little less than 11,000 votes. But now there's 255,000 with no record, 23,000 double votes, 23,000 voted by mail after they moved out of the state or country. This is huge. So now Texas Attorney General has sent out investigations. They found evidence that Democrat-run groups are illegally registering non-citizens to vote. And this is why it's going to change the 2024 election, because we're catching it now before the ballots have been cast. Check this out.
Breaking news, your staff notified me late this afternoon your office is taking action to stop potentially illegal Democrat efforts ahead of the 2024 election. Tell us what you found and what you plan to do.
So we've actually just started the investigation, but we already know we've been to several DPS locations where you get your driver's license, and where a citizen can normally register to vote. We've noticed that there are nonprofits that are setting up on DPS property, registering people coming out of DPS locations. So what's unusual about that? Well, if you're a citizen of the United States, you don't need a secondary place to go register on DPS property with a nonprofit. You would register inside of the DPS office. That's the normal process. If you're not a citizen and you can't get registered there, then that's the only reason there'd be a secondary location with a nonprofit. So we're in the middle of that investigation right now, trying to figure out how many of these locations that's occurring and how this is all going on.
So if I'm reading you correctly,
Wow.
if you're an illegal alien, you can't go into DPS to register to vote. That's not what's something you can do. That's not legal. So you're speculating that on the outside there are these third-party organizations that are trying to catch those people who are illegal aliens to register them to vote in the state of Texas. Is that what you're investigating?
Yeah, now you can go into a DPS office and lie about it, but there are some verification things that they do to check whether you are a citizen. But if you don't have the ability to register inside of a DPS office, I mean, it's because you're not supposed to register to vote, because you're not legal. So why would these organizations be on DPS property?
Exactly.
Registering people to vote unless they're registering people that are here illegally.
And guys, check it out. The only nonprofits that they have found that are doing this are Democratic-run linked nonprofits. You can't tell me that there's not some shadiness going on. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
Does it make sense?
Yes, and there are plenty of stories out there, Mr. Attorney General, of left-wing bastions trying to make sure that these illegal aliens who have been allowed to break into our country do have the necessary materials to register to vote. So it's keep us posted on your investigation.
Guys, it's so sad, guys, what we're seeing. And this is whenever they talk about election integrity, they talk about, oh, we need to, there's this fraudulent is not happening. It's happening right before our eyes. The audit in Arizona just caught that, and you just heard that about the thousands of casted votes that were not even true. They were all either double balloted, or these people weren't even in the same state. But if that makes you upset, guys, so yesterday in California, they passed in the House. So remember, every state operates kind of like how the federal government. You got to go through the House, the Senate, and then you got to go to sign by the governor in the states. But for on federal level, it's the House, the Senate, and then the president's signature, right? Well, yesterday, the House in California passed a 0 down, no payment, 0% interest home loans for illegals to be able to buy homes. And yes, you heard me right. This is for illegals. This is all true. Well, today the Senate just passed it. Well, guess where it's going next? It's going to the governor, Gavin Newsom, for him to sign, which he already said he's going to, so that they're going to use taxpayer dollars to give and allow for illegals to put 0 down, no payment home loans, and 0% interest. I'm not making this up, guys. It's so messed up, and I told you it's happening across the United States. Now it's happening in Oregon. Listen to this. This is so messed up.
Taxpayer-funded group is offering $30,000 to new home buyers. Lauren, you cannot apply if you're an American citizen.
So he just said taxpayer-funded group.
What's with that?
Why would an American citizen apply for a taxpayer-funded program to get $30,000 for a new home? I mean, It's wild. The group is called Hacienda Community Development Corporation. They offer payment assistance in Oregon to DACA recipients, asylees, green card holders, basically any non-U.S. citizen. This is state-sponsored discrimination, Stuart. That's what it is. I mean, it's crazy. That's their goal. They want to open up housing and the American dream to non-U.S. citizens.
Okay, I guess that's the reason why that's why we have an open border, because eventually these folks will vote and vote Democrat because they're the people who let them in. That's what this is about.
Part of me wants to say crazy things happen in Oregon, but I think this will go far beyond Oregon. There is a critical shortage of houses across the United States, particularly in Oregon, and then they're giving $30K to non-taxpayers.
Yeah, which will raise the price of houses.
For everybody else.
Pathetic. All right, Lauren.
Guys, just like he said, it's pathetic. We've got people that are American citizens that can't get this type of assistance to buy a home, yet non-citizens are getting this money, are getting 0% interest, 0 down payment, $30,000 in these states, and it's starting to spread across the United States. They're using taxpayer-funded money. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. I'm telling you guys, we need a change so bad right now in the United States, a change in leadership. We need a change in who is dealing with our taxpayer dollars and giving it away to non-citizens. Like, dang, this is bad, guys. This is so bad. We've got our friend who has a really good take on this. Y'all might know him as John Kennedy. Check it out.
Droned on former President Bill Clinton. Anyway, here with reaction, our friend, Louisiana Senator John Kennedy. Senator, we wish you were here in Chicago with us, but I'm sure you're happy wherever you are. I don't know if you're in Washington or Louisiana. Let's get your thoughts overall on the convention.
Well, I listened to President Clinton's speech. My mother did not raise a fool, and if she did, Sean, it was one of my brothers. The speech to me was basically a baloney blizzard. He talked about growth from the bottom up and the middle out. The only thing I see growing from the bottom up and the middle out under Harris Biden is prices, crime, and illegal immigration. President Clinton was right about one thing. He said we've got a decision to make, and it's either Trump or Harris. There is no door number 3.
No.
For me, that is a choice between hope and more hurt. I remember what inflation and crime and the border and national security was like under President Trump, and I know what it's like under Ms. Harris and Mr. Biden. That dollar in your pocket is worth 80 cents today.
Yep.
Thanks to the Harris-Biden team. I don't know about you, but I could go for a mean tweet and $2 gas right about now. Probably not emphasized enough is the vice president's very poor record on national security. Every budget that she and President Biden have submitted to Congress, every single one cuts defense. If you care about national security and national defense, you can't support the vice president. And to put it as one of my constituents put it, I'm not going to vote for someone who would leave my ass in Afghanistan. And that's exactly what the vice president and the president of the United States did. I know the vice president well. I don't hate anybody, but I know her well. I served in the Senate with her. She's AOC without the bartending experience. She is a San Francisco Democrat, and that's just the bottom line.
And that's really what the election is going to be about. And I think the country now is going to have to go through a period of really understanding who she is, the position she's taken, the statements that she's made. And there's never been anybody that has this plethora of radical views that are out there in the open. The media is not showing it. We'll continue to show it. And I do believe at some point it will get into the the American culture and the bloodstream and the consciousness of the American people. And I think at that point, it's a very different race. Would you agree with that, Senator?
Yes, and if you look at the vice president's record, she helped cause the worst inflation that America's had in 40 years. Her plan for price controls will make it worse. Her plan to raise the corporate income tax will cut wages for all of us at a time when people desperately need them. She has compared our Border Patrol agents to members of the Ku Klux Klan. She wants to get rid of private health insurance. Her running mate wants to put tampons in every boy's bathroom throughout America. And again, her record on defense, she thinks we can solve all of our problems with China and Putin and the Ayatollah in Iran with hugs and hot cocoa. President Biden, President Clinton sees that. President Clinton, look, he's a politician like me. Bill Clinton would support a dead buzzard over a Republican, any Republican, if the buzzard had a D behind his name.
Senator Kennedy, you're a national treasure. We always love having you on. You're a wordsmith, and we appreciate you being with us. Thank you, Senator.
Hey, Sean. Guys, that's the truth, guys. What we're dealing with and what we're seeing, it's completely a spit in the face to the American people. Because she's done such a horrible job. Guys, I got some news for you in a minute that you're going to see that's going to blow your mind. It's going to make you upset, but it's why we have to stand up for our rights and why we have to make sure we get the right people in office. Because I love what you're about to see here. Don't let the Democrats fool you. They always say, like, we're a people, we're a party of the people. We want to grow from the bottom up and the middle out. Yet whenever they get on stage and they talk about wealth and how it's so bad, listen to this, because this is going to change your mind, because this is what's actually happening in real life.
A big theme here at the DNC is that they're going to go after corporate gouging, and they're going to go after corporations, whether it's in taxes, largesse, loopholes. The RNC, we heard the same thing. They're going after the elites, the two sets of rules. Let me reveal a reality to you that has to be spoken to here, okay? These are the soldiers. These are the men and the women that go back to their constituencies and their communities, and they fight. They take time from their jobs. They take time from their families. Republicans and Democrats alike, that's what they do. They need to charge these people up. They need to be able to get them on board. But there's another reality that is literally looking down on them. Greg, look at the ring of sweets, okay?
Watch
this is not
guys.
Unique to Democrats. There is a game of money. When people talk about uniparty, we are strangled by the money reality in our politics. Those suites start at 500 grand.
Ooh.
You think there's like a teacher group up in there? You think
Nope.
It's like the Cub Scouts of Columbia County, South Carolina, that's up in those boxes? Some of them are lobbies and good things. The media boxes, you think they're free? Why do you think I'm on the floor? News Nation is not a broke company. Nexstar is a massive organization. We are corporate media. We don't have one of those boxes because that's the game. You pay to play.
Right
those
there.
boxes are filled with the same people that they say they're going to regulate. They are literally looking down on the faithful.
God,
and
that's
being
so messed
told,
up.
Yeah, we're going to break down on them. We're going to make them pay their share. They paid $500, $700, $1 million, $1.5 million to have those seats. They get hotel suites that are probably gifted to the party. And the same thing is true at the Republican side. And they're going to take them down. They're going to change how it is. They are looking down from on high at the people who make the difference in their communities. And that is the reality of politics. And I had my producer walk around and show you those suites. Now, they're not all the same. They're not all the same. But the reality is, in 2000, they spent $300 million on presidential campaigns.
You hear that, guys?
24 years later, you know what they're expected to spend? $10 billion. Do you know how much money Harris has raised in the last couple of weeks?
I don't know if you just caught that. In the year 2000, they spent $300 million in elections. This year, $10 billion to put the people, the elite want to put the people they want in office. And watch what we're about to see, guys, because this is how messed up it is and how hypocritical it is.
Hundreds of millions, and that's success. A lot of it's small donor, a lot of it isn't. The most dangerous money in politics is now legal money because of Citizens United. You've got to know this. The idea that they can fight against it is almost laughable. It's almost laughable. So look and listen when you are told these things.
Look at
I don't
this.
care what they promise you. Not here tonight, not at the RNC, not that Trump knows them, not that they don't own them. He did one of the biggest fundraisers I've ever heard of in my life out where I... millions of dollars a plate.
They want to talk about real people and how they're helping everybody out. Well, look at this right here. And this is being paid for by the very people that are putting all these big donations towards the Democratic Party to have them do what they want to. They said they're going to spend $10 billion this year on the elections, guys. You can't tell me that a lot of this stuff is not pay to play when it comes to the establishment, when it comes to these billionaires and them controlling the elections, guys. But listen to this, because there's another big change up coming. Donald Trump has some words to say about it. Check this out.
All right, Mr. President, yesterday there was a big announcement or big rumors spreading that RFK Jr. might be dropping out, might be endorsing you. His spokesperson said they will give a live address tomorrow about his path forward. And now there are rumors that he might join you at this rally in Arizona tomorrow to announce that he's supporting you. What's the truth? Have you talked to him?
So I've known him for a long time. He's as you know, he's a little different kind of a guy. Very smart guy, a very good person. If he endorsed me, I would be honored by it. I would be very honored by it. He really has his heart in the right place. He is a respected person. Women love some of his policies, and I guess some people don't like some of his policies. But overall, I thought the Democrats, he was a Democrat. I don't know what he is right now, but he was a Democrat. They treated him very badly. I think he would have, you know, he goes around saying he would have beaten Biden in the primary. I think there was a good chance. What they did to him was what they did to Biden. They really were harsh and threw him out. They wouldn't let him go to the vote. I mean, they made it impossible for him to compete in primaries because he was doing so well. And they basically made it impossible for him to do what I think he would have been successful. I think he would have overthrown Biden because Biden is so bad as a president. When I hear this talk about Mount Rushmore, I turn off your television. If I have to read an article, I just throw it down. Mount Rushmore for this man who is the worst president in our history. He's allowed, and she is, because she was the border czar. Now she disowns that. She's allowed millions of people to come into our country, many of these people totally unchecked, totally unvetted. Many of these people came into our country, think of this, from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums. And, Brian, there's many terrorists coming in, many
There's no doubt
terrorists.
about it. There's 99 on the FBI watch list that are in our country right now. And we just talked to a sheriff that says we have more people turn themselves in, but more gotaways than ever before with these new rules. Mr. President, they keep bringing up the fact that you were against the bipartisan bill that Senator Langford and Senator Murphy came up with about 6 months ago. You didn't want it done. What didn't you like about that bipartisan bill on the border?
Everything. It was no good. Millions of people in that bill, millions and millions of people would have allowed to come in. And, you know, Senator Langford hurt himself. He's a fine person. He hurt himself by even putting that forward. But more importantly, you don't need a bill. If they want to close the border, I had the best border in history. You see the numbers. You see the famous chart that probably saved my life, if you want to know the truth. But the chart that I was pointing to, that I made a turn to the right, showed that they had the least number in recorded history. The week that I left office, we had, by the way, the lowest inflation, and we had the least number of illegal immigrants
But you just didn't like
into our
that bill.
country.
They said that you killed the bill for political reasons. Did you kill it
I
because
didn't
you
kill
wanted
the
to
bill.
do it yourself, and if you fixed the border, it would have hurt your chances of getting reelected? What do you say to that?
Brian, I didn't do anything on the bill. People would ask my opinion, but I didn't do anything on the bill. I think they respect my opinion. It was a terrible bill. But more importantly, if they want to fix the border, they don't need a bill. The President of the United States, which is what I did. I didn't have a...
Let me ask you this, guys, because I don't understand. When you're supposed to be the commander-in-chief of the United States, you're supposed to protect the United States with everything in you. Yet, why do you need a bill to tell you to make sure to protect the borders? It's literally in the Constitution. What the Democrats have done is they made a bill, they put a lot of fat in it, a lot of spending like they always do to try to get more and more of the taxpayer dollars, and the Republicans saw it and didn't want to vote for it, and that's why it didn't get passed.
To close the border. I closed the border. I had the safest border. I had the least drugs coming into our country in 38 years. I had the least, you have the human traffickers are horrible, and they traffic in children and they traffic in women, mostly women. But I had the lowest number of, we went after them with a vengeance. Nobody's ever gone after. They will be very happy. I'll tell you what, they would be very happy to see these lightweights get back into office. They don't want Trump back. But I had the lowest human trafficking of children and women ever recorded, ever. And, you know, the Internet makes it very hard because the Internet, that's become a business based on the Internet. The Internet has brought that into a modern business, and it's almost as big as the drug business for these people. But I had the lowest number of drugs, everything. We had a great border. All Biden had to do is go to the beach and leave it alone. We had the best people.
Leave it alone.
We had guys like Tom Homan and Brandon Judd and all these people. Paul has taken Brandon Judd's place, as you know. He's fantastic. All of these people were stars, and they were doing such a good job. I had a policy: remain in Mexico. You couldn't come in. Mexico's going crazy with me, by the way. Remain in Mexico. You couldn't come in. The policy was so good. They ended it in the first week. No longer remain in Mexico. It was so incredible. They couldn't come in unless they got approved. We'd check them. Very few of them were able to come in because there were so many criminals. We kept criminals out. Now you have murderers, drug dealers. Countries are sending from all over the world, not just South America, all over the world. They're sending their killers, their murderers, their drug dealers, and their jails are being emptied out into the United States of America.
Guys, I don't know if you can hear, but do you hear the passion in Trump's voice of how upset he is that it's not about the stupid political parties. It's not about Republican or Democrat. It's take care of America. We got American citizens that have died because we have these stupid open borders, that they repealed all these policies. Biden did it. He stopped building the wall on day one. They removed the Remain in Mexico policy on day one. And what did it do? They did it all in spite of Trump. It wasn't with true integrity to protect the American citizens. It was in spite of Trump. That's how messed up politicians are nowadays. You want to know how messed up it is too? Because the media is just the same. Look at this. You know how they just did the revision on the jobs? Almost 900,000 jobs have been removed from the past 3 years over all the audits and stuff. Well, guess what? Look at the media coverage of the job revisions. Our economy is not doing as good as it is. And yet, Bidenomics was touted like crazy by all these news channels. But look how much time has been spent by these news channels reporting on the actual numbers of the job revision. Nothing. Why? Because it's all propaganda. They only want to say the good things about Biden and Harris and all the Democratic Party so that they can win votes. And this is what's getting so messed up. So if you didn't know, Mayorkas just released a letter, and now Josh Hawley is going after him because this is the letter, guys. The DHS, so there's been a lot of illegals that have come in. Well, you know what? We're trying to keep hold of the kids, right? Want to make sure the kids are good because usually they're the ones that are trafficked. Usually they're the ones that go through the worst of it. Well, the DHS has lost, right here, guys, 200, I don't know if you can see that. I don't know if I can get real close. All right, let me just pull it up here. So, oh, wow, right there. The DHS has lost nearly 300,000 migrant children. They don't know where they're at. They don't know where they are. These are kids that they said at least 30% of them were trafficked here. And the DHS has no clue of where they're at. Imagine. I couldn't imagine if I didn't know where my kids were at, guys. I would go crazy. But yet, the Biden-Harris administration has lost 291,000 children that have come over that are illegal in the United States have no idea where they're at. That's why Trump is so passionate. And then they keep trying to come at him. But I'll tell you this, guys, because I like to give, this is my thing. On True Life News, we're going to show you the truth. Give credit where credit is due. Listen to this, because this is coming from an unlikely source. Right here. Fact checking by CNN.
Listen to this claim from Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester of Delaware about Project 2025 and former President Trump.
Project 2025.
He with his friends said the quiet parts out loud, but not only said them out loud, he wrote a book about it. What's it called? Project 2025.
That is false. Trump did not write Project 2025. The project's big policy document published by the Heritage Foundation think tank lists dozens of people as authors, editors, contributors. Donald Trump is not among them.
Can you believe that, guys? Democrat out of Delaware comes out at the DNC and says Trump did Project 2025. And then all of a sudden, CNN fact checks them. Thank you, CNN, for doing your job as a news outlet, as a reporting media, to give us and help us see the facts. That's what we need, guys, because too much of what you're about to see is happening, and every American person needs the truth. Check this out.
46,000. That's how many illegals have been welcomed in Chicago in the last 2 years under Democratic leadership. Now, I've talked a lot over the last few years to residents about what's happened to these communities. Listen.
We see where resources are being given to illegal immigrants versus American citizens. And so it's killing our community.
They are giving the illegals resources that they've denied to us for generations. And now we see that they've had the money all along. They just didn't want to share it with us.
It's very frustrating. And I think to see gangs and so many illegal immigrants walk into the neighborhoods, and we have to see them digging in their garbage cans, and it's really crazy.
And it gets worse. A shocking new DHS Inspector General report reveals that the government of Biden-Harris lost track of 32,000 unaccompanied minors who came in illegally from fiscal year 2019 to fiscal year 2023. Now, when you dig into the numbers, you find that the number of kids coming in exploded under Biden-Harris in particular. Joining me now, Pastor Corey Brooks, CEO of Project Hood and senior pastor of New Beginnings Church in Chicago. Pastor, it's great to see you. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Now, the report says that ICE has no assurance that these unaccompanied kids are safe from trafficking, exploitation, or forced labor. So much for the Democrats' claims that they care about the children.
Absolutely. You know, as a pastor, that breaks my heart to know that there are so many children who are unaccounted for. It goes to show us just how government is ineffective and inefficient when it comes to being accountable for our citizens, not just for our citizens, but for illegal immigrants who are coming into the country. And it's a sad commentary about the state of affairs of our government.
Well, it's like kids are used as props, but in practice, in the real world, kids are suffering. Let's talk about the kids in Chicago.
Yes.
I was talking to some police officers today, and they told me that the way lots of the crimes are being logged here in Chicago make things look a lot rosier than they are, about violent crime being down and so forth. And they were basically telling me a very scary tale about the numbers of police officers and what's happening on the ground.
Absolutely. In our community, there's not a day that goes by that we're not dealing with crime, that we're not dealing with issues that are impacting our community every single day. Now, the fact that we have so many illegal immigrants who have been added to the community, it's created such a burden on organizations like ours, on citizens in our community. Crime is absolutely going up without a shadow of a doubt. No matter what they try to portray or say, it's definitely going up.
This is a political narrative that they're trying to sell. But, Pastor, I want to play something that was said during a Black Caucus meeting at the DNC today. Watch.
Some of the things that each of you are doing to inform and educate and organize and mobilize black men, and what are some of the challenges that you think we need to all work together to overcome? Especially, we got 70 days to act right, y'all.
That's right.
Now, after 7 days, we can go back there and crazy. Right?
So, I guess we have 70 days, and then we can be crazy. What is that?
Yeah.
They're victims of misinformation. Anyone who I guess votes for Trump is too stupid that they can't actually understand basic facts. Not a lot of facts being discussed here tonight.
Absolutely. Identity politics is the order of the day. Anytime you have all of these individuals who are telling you you should vote for a person because of their gender or because of their race, they're playing those cards because they're trying to apply pressure to our community. But what they need to know, there are a lot of black men like myself who feel like we're going to vote the way we want to vote, and we're going to do it based upon policies and principles, not upon identity.
Yeah, I mean, I saw one poll where Trump was at 21% among all African Americans.
Yes.
Now it's mostly black males. But that seems to comport with a lot of what I'm hearing. And I know you're not political, but does that kind of make sense to you, that number?
It makes a lot of sense. You know, there are a lot of individuals who are finally waking up to the fact that the Democratic Party has taken advantage of black people for far too long. You can go to any urban area in America that's democratically ran, and you're going to see crime, you're going to see poor schools, you're going to see economic failure, and migrants, the order of the day. And so we're waking up to that, and I'm believing you're going to see a record number of black people, African Americans, who are going to vote differently than they have in the past. And for that, it's going to be very helpful to further our agenda.
Well, the good vibe.
Guys, and that's wonderful, guys. People waking up, people seeing what's actually going on. And this is something, too, that I feel like more than ever, the more that we look at the policies, stop looking at this stupid, like a lot of people got upset over what? Over what Trump tweeted out, things that he tweeted out, things like that. And yet it bothers me that they don't hold the people who are actually in office, who are supposed to be taking care of them, who are supposed to be doing what's right, accountable to what they're doing. Because words are cheap. Actions speak louder than words. And when you look at what they're actually doing, it's not putting America first. These illegal immigrants getting $30,000 of taxpayer money, guys. It's not their money. It's taxpayer money to go in and buy a home. And we've got people that they can't buy a home. They don't have enough money for this. Like, this is what's so upsetting. But what I love is that I feel like there's a new awakening. Trump's building a dream team coming together. This is one of them. Check it out.
Kamala Harris's tagline has become, "I'm speaking," even though it's about 4 years old at this point. That being the case, is she really speaking? She hasn't spoken. She's not going to be a debate as it seems right now. She's not doing a sit-down interview with the press. She's not speaking directly to Americans as much as she should as a presidential candidate. So does she need to consider changing her tagline?
Well, look, I think that if that's her tagline, in some ways it's Orwellian. So whether she changes it or not, I think she actually should stay right on course, because in many ways the party that preaches diversity opposes diversity of thought. The party that preaches inclusion wants to create a culture of exclusion where certain views aren't welcome. The party that preaches free speech wants censorship. And the party that says I'm speaking isn't actually saying anything of substance when they're actually speaking. I think this is an interesting year, and I don't say this in a critical sense, just in a reflective sense. It's an interesting year for introspection in the press. What is the role of the political media in the United States? I think it's vital to the health and functioning of our country.
Exactly.
I think we've been given occasion for that reflection. And some members of the press I applaud for engaging in the kind of self-criticism that was due for 3 years of purposefully failing to scrutinize a U.S. president who was not functioning as a U.S. president. There were self-interested reasons for the come to Jesus moment after that debate in June. But I think that that's an occasion now to step back and reflect on whether or not we're going to hold Kamala Harris to the same standard of offering her clear policies for the future of the United States as we hold Donald Trump. If we do, I don't care who wins. The country is going to be better off for it. But that isn't happening right now. And I think that, too, is part of what a free and fair election looks like. It's free and fair to the voters to be able to have the information to actually make a decision. This is being decided right now on a vibe. Many people who aren't paying close attention to politics, this is just being decided based on style over substance. And I just don't think American democracy is better off for that fact. And I think by the time we get to November, the reality is many voters are going to demand some level of substance that they haven't gotten yet. So if the media isn't going to do it, I have full confidence that the voters ultimately will. Right
Guys,
here.
and that's going to be us. That's what True Life News is here, guys, to show you what the media won't show you, to show you all the facts, and make sure that you're taken care of, guys, when it comes to the news. Because right now, the more and more data that comes out from Kamala Harris, the Biden administration over the southern border, I think she should be disqualified from running just because we've had over 10 million illegals come in on their watch, and people have lost their lives. Women have been raped. Horrible things have happened under their watch, and they have not taken accountability. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, but check this out.
We are just hours away from a major split screen in this year's presidential election. At 2:30 p.m. Eastern, although he'll be in the Pacific time zone today, former President Donald Trump will be at the southern border in Cochise County, Arizona. And Trump is set to highlight his plan to end the immigration crisis, Biden and Harris's border crisis. And he's going to call out the failures of the Vice President Kamala Harris, no doubt. And the event just hours before the biggest moment of Kamala Harris's political career. She's still getting ready to officially accept the Democratic nomination for the president, and stage right behind me, that's where that will happen. I don't know if you can see that. They just finished the national anthem again, so we've got a big flag behind me right now. And it's been absolutely beautiful to listen to that. This is Outnumbered. I'm Harris Faulkner, live at the Democratic National Convention, joined by my co-hosts, Kayleigh McEnany, also here in Chicago with me and our team, and Emily Campagno, live from our couch in New York City. We miss you, Em. Also joining us, Fox News contributor and former State Department spokesperson under President Obama, Marie Harf, and former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Ooh, this is going to be spicy. Thanks, everybody. Immigration is one of those issues likely to define this presidential election. And the latest Fox News power rankings show former President Trump holding a 13-point lead on immigration. Meanwhile, a string of recent polls all show Trump with a commanding lead on the issue. Look at that. She doesn't come close any.
I just can't believe that 42% of people think that Harris is actually doing a good job with the border, guys. Can you believe this? This is so disgusting.
Where? And the former president has called out Kamala Harris earlier today when he was on Fox and Friends. Let's watch.
She's allowed millions of people to come into our country, many of these people totally unchecked, totally unvetted. Many of these people came into our country, think of this, from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums. And Brian, there's many terrorists coming in. If they want to fix the border, they don't need a bill. The President of the United States, which is what I did. I didn't have a bill to close the border. I closed the border. I had the safest border. I had the least drugs coming into our country in 38 years. I had the least, you have the human traffickers are horrible, and they traffic in children and they traffic in women, mostly women. But I had the lowest number of, we went after them with a vengeance.
Emily, it's been said that, you know, Kamala Harris will prosecute border states. I mean, that's what her past includes. And you've told me many times, California has a wall. They got that big fence line, so it might be easier to prosecute there, but that's not what she did anyway. And she's not doing it now.
No, she campaigned for then president the last time on fixing the immigration crisis, right? And then she became the border czar, which since then has been denied. But we watched as she utterly failed in terms of any type of bridging, any type of relationships with the central and southern governments, even though it was touted to us that her experience would lend her able to do so. Now, the credibility has been extinguished, in my opinion, because as a Californian, I resided under her DA watch, under her senator watch, and under her AG watch, and nothing got accomplished. Well, cut to today, where under the Harris-Biden administration, we have millions of illegal immigrants throughout the country, spikes in crime, the complete and utter erosion of the safety and protection of those people that are streaming across our border. So for someone that said that they are seeking amnesty for all, compassion, care, and the humane treatment of all, that has been sorely sorely missed as a mark under her watch. And now there's an utter denial of the crisis, the utter crisis that has plagued the states along the border, and all 50 that have unfortunately suffered because of those policies and the drugs streaming across. So the notion now that all of the blame lies with a prior administration, the notion that now we should trust her to actually take up the helm and support the Border Patrol, support the states that have sued her administration for failing to protect them, it's utter hypocrisy.
Guys, y'all know that? Texas has sued the Biden administration. Florida has sued the Biden administration because they weren't doing their dang jobs to help protect the American people with the border. And yes, she's trying to come out and say she's going to actually protect the border and be tough on it. Like, you got to be kidding me.
And it's not going to fly.
Well, that's how you prosecute a case. She should know. Former federal attorney. Marie Harf, you know, it's interesting because that subject hasn't come up in any substantive way at 3 days, and now we're into our 4th day of the DNC convention. Yet it's in a top 3, rocking that way for more than a year among Americans polled across the country. Why not?
Well, I expect we'll hear a little bit more about it this evening. At least I hope we will.
How about a lot
and if
more?
we just look at sheer numbers, well, there's a lot of issues to cover, and hopefully her speech is, 30 to 40 minutes. But on the actual numbers, border crossings are at their lowest point since Donald Trump was president. A lot of people have argued, with me on this show and elsewhere that it was too little too late and they waited too long to close the border. But the reality is they have now. And she has worked with those countries in Central and South America to try and address the root causes. And Democrats supported a bill that would have been the toughest immigration bill.
Guys, how that... Okay, somebody said asked me to explain what gaslighting is. Gaslighting is whenever, imagine if I have, if I have a red dot on my face and I look in the mirror and I see a red dot, and then you say, Joel, you don't have a red dot on my face. And I'm like, no, I can see it in the mirror. I have a red dot. And you keep saying, no, Joel, there's not a red dot on your face. When I can clearly see that there is, but you keep telling me that there isn't. That's what gaslighting is. This woman has the audacity to sit there and say the immigration is the lowest that it's been since Trump was in office. Yeah, after what? You let in 13, 14 million people, and now you want to say things are good? That's gaslighting America with lies. And look how Kayleigh McEnany and Harris Faulkner are already going after her, be like, stop lying to the American people.
Would have been the toughest immigration bill in decades that Donald Trump killed for political reasons.
They can still bring in 2,500 every day. That is not true.
Well, look, the numbers are the lowest they've been since Donald Trump was president. That is true. That's a fact. So if Donald Trump's going to go to the border and talk really tough and say a lot of things that are offensive and not true and not compassionate in any way for the situation, where they're actually taking steps to fix it. But the last thing I'll say is, I do think it's a crisis, and I think a lot of Democrats think it's a crisis, and I think my party has to make a case for why we will continue to crack down on illegal immigration, because voters do care about, as we know.
Wow. We have a former Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, with us today, who also can prosecute a case. Kevin.
Well, what's shocking to me is right after they were sworn into office, a few months later, we watched the border explode because of their policies. The first thing they did on the day they were sworn in is stop finishing the wall. They literally took that equipment and hid it away. The other thing, when I went and toured the border in 2021, right after that, talking to the border agents, there's two things I picked up. When I interviewed the people who were coming over, they said they came over because Biden-Harris invited them to.
Wow.
Secondly, the border agents told us what they really found was terrorists on the watch list were coming over. I put this out in a press conference, and Ruben Gallegos, a congressman from Arizona, a border state, now the Democrat nominee for Senate in that state, challenged me and said I was lying. And what did we find out? Not only was I telling the truth, he never apologized, but we found just in the month of February that they caught more people on the terrorist watch list. And think how difficult it is to get on that list than we caught the entire 4 years under the Trump administration.
Because they know they ain't got much time.
So maybe they changed their behavior because they're running for office, but they already did so much damage to our country that if you go to the state of Massachusetts, their #1 issue, where their Democratic governor actually has a state state of emergency because of the southern border. In the city of New York, the #1 issue is the border. And what you're finding throughout this entire nation, if there's less money in your city and you're far from the border because they're housing people that was flown into your city unbeknownst to you the night before, and you no longer have enough money for police or the parks or for the schools, this is because Kamala Harris was the czar of the border and failed in her job.
A recent Fox News poll is asking what best describes the situation in the U.S. southern borders. Emergency, they call it, 44%. A major problem, 43%. A minor problem, 11%. And I want to drill down just a little bit, Kaylee, before I go to you. In February of 2019, the emergency category was 27%. And in February of 2024, it was 41%, and now it's 44%. Kaylee.
So Maurice says the official numbers have lessened. That is true. But here's what the official numbers do not include. Parolees, those leased into the interior of the United States, 1.9 million known gotaways. Our own Bill Malhusian, who's actually at the border often, has talked about ICE being overwhelmed. So the official number doesn't tell the whole story. But let me say one thing. I was coming here and I was looking at a liberal network and I was reading what they had at the lower part of their screen. And it said star-studded convention. And that's true. Oprah stood behind me. Little John came out and surprised everyone. There are reports that Katy Perry will be here tonight. We just heard the Dixie Chicks sing. I guess they're called the Chicks now. There's been a lot of stars. But there's some names that haven't been mentioned. Laken Riley, a college girl who went for a run and lost her life. Rachel Morin, a mother of 5 who went for a run and lost her life. Jocelyn Ngari, a 12-year-old girl who went to the convenience store and lost her life. All by illegal immigrants, all preventable, all a result of the perilous, dangerous, and irresponsible Harris-Biden border policies. You don't need legislation. You need a pen, and you need the will. And Harris could not find it in herself for 3.5 years to go to Biden and say, pick up your pen, whip out 212F, sign this into law because another girl should not lose their life. It is inexcusable. It is disqualifying for the role of President of the United States.
Well, and she's being peddled as, you know, pick her because she's a woman in some categories. Yes, because of her skin color and others, or her biracial makeup. But this idea of just being a human being that needs to be doing the right thing, that's what really needs to be hit at this point, because it's definitely hurting our country.
Guys, it's heartbreaking. You heard those names of people that have lost their lives because the border was wide open and they let all these legal immigrants, and then all this stuff happened. Like, it's heartbreaking to hear that. Those families will never be the same. I couldn't ever imagine it, guys. But again, too, there's so much breaking news going on. We need to get the right people in office, guys. Just want to say thank you to everybody that is watching. Thank you to everybody that gives a super chat donation, guys. It's such a blessing to our family. And if you don't mind clicking the thumbs up like button, guys, right there really does help to grow the channel. But hey, we're going to bring the true news to you across the board, guys. I know we showed you earlier that they're literally in California, illegal immigrants are getting 0% interest, 0% down payment, homes for free on taxpayer money. In Oregon, they're giving $30,000 away to illegal immigrants to buy homes. Not American citizens. You lose eligibility if you're a citizen, but you have eligibility if you're not. All this crazy stuff is happening, and people need to know. And I thank you for all your support, for everybody that's watching, guys. Couldn't do this without you. We love you. We thank you. And we will see you in the next one, guys. Take care.